Hello, I'm Trent. I'm a person, citizen of Earth, and like most people, I do different things. I'm a writer, a dad, I do sustainability and technology stuff, but before all that, I was a DJ and a photographer, so I still identify first as a person who loves art and culture. Last Tuesday, I gave this talk at the Music Sustainability Summit in LA about the intersection of climate change, AI, and music. Weird combo, but some people liked it, so here it is in internet format. First of all, I'm sorry in advance. This is yet another opinion about artificial intelligence, and I'm sure you've heard at least a dozen of those in the past week, if not the past hour. But maybe something different about this talk is that I'm not here to sell you anything unless someone wants to buy a jar of my homemade hot honey peanut butter. It is so good. We'll start with this. Sometimes I get questions from people, all kinds of people really. How much energy does AI use? How can we use AI better? And most importantly, how can we do culture better with all this AI swimming around? First of all, let's talk resources, water and energy specifically. Disclaimer, every AI model is different. Your mileage may vary, but here are some rough numbers to keep in mind. Chat level functions, queries like what's the fastest state to permit a new wind farm in, or how to optimize my chord progression for my jazzy pop punk fusion song, use about 10 drops of water and about as much energy as it takes to run an LED light bulb for 2 minutes. Then there's image making, generating a cover for your boardroom presentation or album art for your minor label debut. With tools like Nano Banana or DALL-E, take about 18 watt hours and 18 ounces of water, 8 ounces of water. That's like charging a smartphone from 0 to 100 and a small glass of water. Next up the ladder is making a song using a platform like Suno or Udio or Gemini. That's about 40 watt hours and 2 glasses of water, twice as much as it takes to create an image. But as we move into making videos, things start getting a little crazy. Generating just a 10-second clip takes about a kilowatt hour. That's equivalent to driving a Model 3 for around 4 miles and a gallon of water. If you want to feel better about things, you can use a smaller model like GPT-4 Mini or Gemini Flash. Those models take about 90% less energy than the Pro ones. And make sure you do a great job briefing AI as you might brief an expensive creative director so you don't have to do it again and double the costs. So, should you use AI? I mean, kind of in the same way you use oil. Fly less, eat plant-forward meals, use cheap, small models, and don't make a lot of Blackpink videos. This is a joke about the K-pop band Blackpink. If you know, you know, but if you don't, they make music videos full of the weirdest AI insanity you've ever seen. But as most of you probably know, individual actions don't do much, even if you are rendering sci-fi music vids all day long. When scaled up, AI can, and already does, test the limits of our electric grid. Which leads me to story time! Forgive the name drop, but I used to work in marketing at Google, and I was really jazzed to be part of the team that launched the 24/7 carbon-free initiative in 2020. We were going to take Google's data centers down to zero emissions. It felt like I was using my good marketing brain to sell something that the world could actually use. Then AI happened. Google and most other big tech companies began to walk back their carbon commitments. And there was really only one reason: the explosion of energy needed to train and run large language models. There was nowhere near enough renewable energy on the grid to keep up with that, and the grid itself has proven too slow for the needs of AI. It can take years to permit new connections that make data centers run, so what happens now? We just set up gas plants to power them instead. Isn't that fucked up? So much for 24/7 carbon-free. The explosion in power consumption for AI now accounts for most of the new growth in gas consumption in the USA. Now, AI is, of course, everywhere, especially in the creative industries. Why? Because it's awesome. This song, Walk My Walk by Breaking Rust.
Been beat down, but I don't stay low. Got mud on my jeans, still ready to go. Every scar's a story that I survived. I've been through hell, but I'm still alive.
This song went to number 1 on the Billboard Country Digital Song Sales chart. It was made by a platform called Suno, kind of like the ChatGPT of music creation. What it says to me is we're entering a future where human artists will just seem really, really expensive, no matter how good they are. You could pay a bevy of Nashville songwriters, session musicians, engineers, and marketers tens of thousands of dollars, or you could spend a day writing a really good prompt, upload the song to YouTube, and do pretty okay with it. And remember, this is the worst this technology is ever going to be. Major labels have taken significant stakes in AI-created music, as have the film studios, and with hits like Breaking Rust already in the ether, who can blame them? Money talks. You may have also heard that AI can help us solve some of the biggest climate problems, and that's also true. The International Energy Agency has predicted that AI will be able to help us mitigate 5 to 10% of all emissions. In fact, there are teams in the music industry already using AI to make their own sustainability businesses run more efficiently. Neil Vasavada is a friend who owns a company called Overdrive Energy Solutions. They provide renewable energy to replace diesel generators at big festivals. Neil has used a bunch of tools and using stuff like Claude Code to develop his own software called Overdrive RPM. It's pretty crazy. Overdrive RPM makes it easy for generator techs at festivals to walk around, snap photos, and take voice notes about their setups. It takes those casual notes and cleans them up for reporting, which helps Neil recommend far more efficient choices for the next show. So Neil uses data from Willie Nelson's Luck Reunion in Texas in March to burn less diesel at shows like Coachella in California in April, and that's huge. Never would have happened without AI. Marwan Ibrahim runs a company called Nimblist. With an AI tool called Cedar, he can take a vendor's raw documents, like receipts from Home Depot or utility bills, and extract emissions data from them. That saves days of sifting through data to understand the carbon and waste footprint of a stadium tour, for example. Robots are already automating waste sorting at big events and airports, and machine learning systems are reducing HVAC energy use by up to 40% in large buildings, and that is a huge deal. But please, don't get it twisted. We've all seen what happens when humans are given a magic technology. Some people use it to boost equality, make great art, even heal the sick. But as a society, we tend to use it to exploit and degrade anything we use that technology on. So beware false prophets, y'all. There is no magic bullet, and there are no adults in the room. One thing we do know about AI is that it's going to force us to think really hard about what it is exactly that we do so well as humans. We know that machines can write songs, paint pictures, and make movies, sometimes even pretty good ones, but what does that say about the future of humans creating art for money? I certainly can't tell you, to be clear, but you can look at the way human taxi drivers are fighting Waymo right now for a glimpse of what might happen. But will AI kill culture? Will AI kill art? Hell no. Remember, AI learned everything it knows from us, from people. The reason we're scared of AI, the reason we're so freaked out, is that it's a layer of all of us on top of us. That illustrious poet will.i.am has suggested that it's time to start labeling art and music a bit like we do food. The stuff that's made by humans will be labeled organic. Platforms like Bandcamp have already taken strides in this direction. and that algorithmic music that fills up those chill out, lo-fi, study music playlists will be labeled GMO, or maybe something else. The way the labels and film studios are investing in AI doesn't exactly scream artists will get an even better cut of the profits than they already do, to me at least. However, people will, as long as they walk this earth, want and maybe even need to get together to hang out and listen to music, see art, watch people on a stage. I think it's important that everyone out there begins to think harder about how important it is for us to come around music and art together. These things are that social glue for so many of us. Now, back to me. Just as Google was walking back its carbon commitments, it laid off around 12,000 people over email, and yours truly was one of them. Am I bitter? You betcha. I loved all those free snacks, the free Peloton membership, and they took it all away from me. But really, I was just a canary in the coal mine, if you'll excuse the pun. The race to build artificial general intelligence just began to steamroll everything else on the table, including the search for a livable future. The guardrails are officially off on this thing that we really don't know how to control. The temptation to use AI in the worst of ways to automate away jobs with reckless abandon, concentrate wealth even further at the top, and even to kill people will always be front and center. Can the creative industries stop the destructive tendencies of capitalism that we're currently supercharging with AI? Probably not, but creativity itself might be able to help us figure out what the future of humanity looks like. Let's use AI in ways that help do things we know are good, reducing emissions and waste, saving time, and making human-made culture more accessible. But if things start to feel weird, be a speed bump in the room. Make sure that task you're handing over to machines is one that you couldn't just do yourself, even if it might be a little bit harder. Stay awake, stay human, and remember that a machine can never replace Grace Jones or Alfred Hitchcock or Cindy Sherman or even Richie Havens at Woodstock. We might be real different on the other side of all of this, but I think we'll always need art made by humans to gather around. And isn't that little bit of human job security nice?